Principles of finance, a la shmup. Mitigating risk. So the pieces of this drone puzzle are starting to come together, but you cogitate, how on earth do I reduce the risk in this business, at least in this deal? Well, you recall reconnecting with a few buds from biz school who went to work for General Electric in their jet engine division. When GE wanted to reduce risk, well, it reduced the price 5% of the engines and pre-sold a forward 10 years worth of jet engines to Boeing or whoever. Well, the result was a great partnership that took all of the exogenous stress out of the very difficult task of building jet engines, let alone building jet engines when the seller didn't know whether or not there'd be any buyers of the engines by the time they were finished years later. But in this Blade Runner nano drone LBO, well, you have a consumer item with fickle consumers in a highly volatile, non-must-have area. Like you think about must-have products like milk and clean water and heat, and you rationalize Netflix. But that might not fly with partners reviewing your case. Well, nano drones are not must-have. Neither are Blade Runners. So if the whole world stopped buying them, well, not much would change. So what can you do to mitigate company risk here? Is there an advanced 10 years or even 3 years forward buyer in the GE Boeing vein who could pre-buy, say, 1 million units so that they had them for 10 years? Well, it would guarantee at least locking in most of your production costs and leave upside to the base case set of free cash flow numbers. What deal with the devil are you going to do with an advanced pre-sale like this? Like, what terms would you have to give? Well, having never done one before in your vast 27 years of life, even the voice in your head is queasy thinking about that notion, but hey, you say, it's worth exploring anyway. So through your partner's Rolodex system, a big part of your value add as a private equity shop, you get to the buyer at Walmart. She knows your product, and well, it isn't even yours yet, but if it were, you posit, how might Walmart think about pre-purchasing for 10 years forward? And yeah, it's a combination of laughter and wonderings that somehow reality TV is taping the phone call. So you hang up with Walmart after she does. There's no 10-year advanced buyer risk mitigating partner in that form in the future of BRND. Ain't gonna happen, but that's Walmart. Kind of oldie-worldy dead. But what about Amazon? Yeah, well, that call goes a bit differently. Amazon actually thinks drones are a great seller and that they'll be around for a long time. Amazon actually uses drones to deliver their crap all over the world. So they really know the industry and the technology, and they actually really like your idea, and you get excited. And then Amazon asks if you could make them 1 million units, and your head is almost ready to explode, and then Amazon finishes the sentence for $500 or less each. So the earth stops again. You look at BRND's various unit pricing lines and quickly realize that at $500 a unit, well, the company would make about $10 per unit and have to sell like a super quadrillion of them just to equal the amount you were making by selling them on your own off your own website. So without making eye contact, you stare at the ground and slowly back out of the Amazon room in Seattle and fly home. More questions, you mumble. Other than pre-selling, what else could you do here to mitigate risk? Well, what about OEMing, or original equipment manufacturing drones to be private labeled for Apple? Low margin a la Amazon, you mumble. Correctly. At $500 a unit, this whole deal isn't worth doing. And they'll cannibalize most or all of the $2,000 sales you rely on for profits to drive the business forward. Is there an overseas player to pre-buy, like to co-market/share marketing costs? You know, the way movies and McDonald's or Coke team up. Well, no, nothing obvious. Europe, they're not that crazy about drones, at least not the way we are here. Well, you spend a mind-numbing set of brain cycles trying to figure out how to answer the oldest firm partner's question when he undoubtedly will ask about reducing risk. And you keep mumbling about this problem as you stand in the corner of the giant hallways of the San Jose Convention Center, which is hosting Drone World. Over the phone, you chat with your secretary and are overheard to have said, "I have to figure out a big way to cut costs if nothing else." And then a man confronts you. He's smoking a cigarette indoors here as he leans on the no smoking sign. "I got you," he says. He nods, "Walk with me." And zombie-like you do. This is normal behavior for geeky convention goers. "You want cut costs? I have way." you're in with Drone Maker, right? And you nod yes. And he says, guidance system. I have one just as good. 1/4 price. You license big, you have big. Really? Can I see how it works? What do you have? He nods. Over to my booth. And way over in the far corner, there's a tiny booth. You don't fear for your physical safety, but someone clearly did not get the no smoking memo here, as his partners jump back when you approach from the clouds they're making. Well, he opens the guts of a guidance system. You spent enough time with Blade Runner's guts in this LBO process to know the layout. Your electrical engineering major in college also helped. The non-bloody drone guts you're staring at seem eerily identical to those of Blade Runner's. Yeah, some foreign lettering stamped above them. Is that Chinese, Arabic, Russian? Well, one of the Smoker Man's partners asked you about batteries. They can make those also at 1/4 the price. And as you're taking all this in, you mumble, how's that? And you hear the phrase, gallium arsenide. And there's a crushing blade that feels like it's coming down on the paperwork cycles you've put into this LBO. These guys clearly steal the electronic architecture of guidance systems and make them cheaply overseas with what looks like prison labor. And yeah, you note all the little notes scrawled on the side of the drone casing saying, help, get me out of here, with GPS coordinates on them as well. These guys then apparently sell product for less. And just in case you didn't hear clearly, well, you ask them to repeat in broken English. You catch it clearly the second time. Gallium arsenide equals arsenic equals poison. That's how they make the baseboards and structured semiconductors for the guidance systems so cheap. They etch silicon with arsenic poison and, well, just dump it in the river. And as you imagine, the three-headed children downriver in some foreign country you've never visited or maybe even ever heard of, you hand the guidance guts back to the smoker and beat it out of there with a flurry of questions accosting you. Is this gray/black/stolen market a big part of the drone world? They're in the back corner here, so it can't be that big, can it? Will it be? Would they sell to Amazon on the $500 a unit deal? Is there anything I could or would do about it? If I called the cops, what would happen? Why didn't I go to med school? Well, the bottom line is that it sounds like there is simply no real ethical way to mitigate risk in this deal. So what does that mean to the math of the financial engineering? Bigger discount rate on the discounted cash flow model. Remember that thing that you'll put together for your partners? Well, the last dying embers of risk mitigation are about just having an exit door, i.e. someone to sell the whole company to, and this is a very bad alternative when you have a lot of debt. If things should not go well 3 years in, you might still have $750 million of debt in a company whose total value declined, say 40% from the 1.3 or 4 billion it started at. And in that case, on a sale of $750 million, well, the only ones made whole are the banks which loaned the LBO the money. That equity piece, remember the $150 million that you put in and then also the $150 million that management put in, yeah, that'd be worth gonzo, zero, nuked. Well, what do you do then? Hint, it rhymes with driving for schmoober.